All right, welcome to our first ever YouTube exclusive episode of the Barstool Bench Mob presented by High Noon Hard Seltzer. High Noon Hard Seltzer, just 100 calories, gluten-free, no added sugar. It's real vodka, real juice for real fans just like us. Hashtag Nooners. Summer is a few weeks away. I've got the High Noon Tropical Pack right here. And the only way to tune into this is watching. So you're seeing on YouTube right now the Tropical Pack, watermelon, mango, passion fruit, and pineapple. High Noon is the best. So it's the pick and roll right now. Reags and myself. Reags, you excited for some High Noon this summer?
I have the pool pack sitting in my fridge, the ones with the new kiwi and guava. I went to the local gas station here by where I live, and I literally bought a box of them because they were like already enclosed, like in the holder. And I was like, well, I'm not going to open for one pack. I'll just take whatever they have. So yeah, I mean, it's my go-to. Weather's turning, pool season is about to be here, beach season for those that don't live in middle of the country. So there's nothing better. I mean, we talk about it and it's true. We all drink it. There's a reason why we all drink it. So go get your High Noons. It's like this, like we said, like there's not a bad time to drink a High Noon, whether it's during college basketball season or the summer.
Absolutely. All right. So here's what we're up to right now. Obviously, it's been a few weeks since we've published anything from the Bench Mob name. A lot of our criticism, especially down the stretch of the season, was the lack of YouTube numbers, which is understandable. There's no way to argue that. Like, the numbers are the numbers on YouTube. They're public. So we're doing this YouTube exclusive just to see what sticks. We're throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks. We are in the first week of May, and right before we recorded, Reags made a good point. Like, with the transfer portal and just the changing landscape of college basketball, there's still plenty of things to talk about. I feel like this time last year, there was maybe one or two coaching carousel moves still happening. Right now, I have a long list we can dive into.
Yeah, so last year felt like the unknown, right? Where it's the first year of after the COVID year, which we all know was a weird year in general, right? And I'm obviously not just talking about COVID, but the college basketball season specifically, where we had all of a sudden a free year for players. Then it was the unknown of, okay, well, who's coming back? What year are they? Like, how much eligibility do these guys have to begin with? And now, we're a year removed where there's still unknowns with the portal and NIL, what's going to happen. But, and I forget who said it, and I want to give him credit. I think it was Doster who said it in a tweet where, what do people go crazy for in the NBA? Free agency, who's being traded to who? Look at the NFL, right? Obviously the NFL is an animal all within itself, so they fucking dominate because people care about, hey, where's this free agent signing? And
when Tom Brady's signing on selection Sunday.
right. So college basketball now has that, and it's split. It's the most polarizing subject, I think, within the college basketball world of what people think about the transfer portal and NIL. I love it because one, it does. Listen, college basketball is a niche sport. We are two college basketball diehard fans. We both can admit it's a niche sport. It takes a backseat to football for the majority of the season.
If you're watching right now, you're tuning in to Morgan State versus Mississippi Valley State on Tuesday at 7 because you've nothing else to do.
Right, and getting excited about it.
Yeah.
And so it takes a backseat to football for the first, 3 quarters of the season. And then it's a hardcore push where people start diving in February, where you're a few weeks out from the conference tournaments. Now we're seeing people talk about college basketball through April into May. It'll still be talked about because we have the NBA draft coming up. Who comes back to college? Who stays in the draft? The portal's adding this. Is it frenzy? Do people not like it? Yes, I understand, but I don't understand why people don't like it because that has zero impact on us. And I rant about that because I say it all the time. We cheer for laundry, right? Like, no one watches college basketball and being like, well, I've been a Zion fan since he was in 7th grade. It's like, no, you're a Duke fan. Like, just say it, and it's fine. Like, I get it. Like, I cheer for Kentucky blue and white. It doesn't matter what players are out there. I cheer for the laundry. I cheer for the team, the school. So it's adding this new dynamic, which is fucking awesome. Like, I'm sorry. Like, look, I have friends that are coaches. I love them as friends. I don't give a shit if their work life is now crazy. I'm not going to feel bad for them.
And I think that was a little bit of the reason why, at least from speculation why people thought Jay Wright was stepping aside, because we're entering an era where no one knows what's going on. It's going to be chaotic. And you're right. Like, there is not as much time for rest in the sport.
And it's just like the Jay Wright thing was unique, right? Like, younger guy, 60 years old, but he even said in his press conference, his retirement press conference, he felt out of touch. Right? He couldn't figure out how to really work the transfer portal. And he saw his younger assistants do it no problem. So he stepped away. He had nothing else to prove. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to overreact to one person retiring. Everyone keeps throwing in Roy and Krzyzewski. They're older guys, right? They're not in their prime when they retire. Not to mention, Roy has health problems with vertigo and all that. We've seen him literally collapse on the sidelines. Krzyzewski has fake injury problems where he fake collapses on the sidelines. But he's not a young guy, is my point, where I'm not going to overreact to Jay Wright retiring and immediately go like, well, this is a transfer portal. This is the bad thing about it. And it's like, no, he realized he was at a disadvantage while also having nothing else to prove. And again, when you're 60 years old and you've made more than enough money for a few generations in your family, wouldn't you just go kick it on the beach?
Right. Won the championships.
Yeah. Got a couple more Final Fours, right? Like, and also he was in I don't want to say a rebuild mode, but he was losing Gillespie, Jermaine Samuels. So, and yes, obviously he was bringing in like Cam Whitmore and good recruits still, but yes, and Nova would have been a top 15 team, but by Nova standards, it would have been interesting to see this year with Jay Wright and the sense of how do they move on from two guys that have been there what seems like forever.
Yeah, absolutely. So this first topic I had actually has absolutely nothing to do with the transfer portal or the coaching carousel at all. It broke earlier this week from CBS's Matt Norlander about a first of its kind scheduling concept. And Reags, you blogged about it on the Barstool Sports website. So basically, the elevator pitch of it is we're going to keep the week after Valentine's Day wide open. And we're going to get 2 games. Each team is going to play 2 games against a team that has a very similar resume to that other team. And via algorithm, they're going to get paired up. And I think this is a fantastic idea. Obviously, we already have the SEC Big 12 happening in January. I think there's some other games like sprinkled in there. But in terms of post-New Year, that's the only big thing that sticks out. But for example, leagues like the AAC, the Mountain West, the A10, depending on the year, the WCC and the Missouri Valley, if you gave me, like, for example, if you take the sample from this year, San Francisco against Boise State, right? A pair of double-digit seeds, like, this could be viewed as an elimination game on Selection Sunday. Like, the committee could look back to 3 weeks prior and be like, all right, Boise State, San Francisco, identical resumes. They already played each other.
You went 0-2. Yeah, right. No, and even like think about the matchups we could have had. Like, I love this idea. I fucking love this idea.
Now, first off, you blogged this. You probably know a little bit more than me. I know a lot of it from reading, but it says 22 of the 32 conferences have been receptive to it. Does that mean it wouldn't be the whole country?
Right. So rule out the Power Six. Those
they don't need
not for
resume
so rule out the Power Six, and then I'm assuming they're going to rule out like the MEAC and the SWAC. So that's 8. So that then the 2 other conferences, probably like the Ivy, or maybe I'm just guessing, maybe the Ivy and the Patriot or something like that.
Because no matter what, those are 1-bid leagues unless they start.
So I'm guessing the top 6 and the bottom 4 are ruled out. Think about the matchups we would have had this past year. We could have got Gonzaga, Houston. We could have had Murray State, Colorado State, or Murray State, St. Mary's. We could have had Davidson against San Francisco. Like, there are so many interesting matchups that we would have had. And I don't remember if I read it this way or how it's laid out. If the same team plays home and away against each other, or if it's like, San Francisco gets a home game against.
I think it's 2 separate teams.
That's the way I read it.
One home, one away.
So you get these unique matchups, and it is like we got Murray State, San Francisco in a 7-10 game.
One of the best opening round games of the tournament.
And everyone was kind of upset that they were paired up against each other, right? Because you automatically eliminate one of the mid-majors. Same time you get a mid-major to advance. So there are pros and cons. But instead of a 7-10, let's say they both went 2-0 in this against quad 1 wins. Maybe Murray State's a 6, and maybe San Francisco's now in that 8-9 game. So it's like, because this is the debate, and this debate's never going to go away, is do you take the mid-major with a really, really good record, minimal quad 1, quad 2 type games, or do you take the 8th best team in a power conference with an average record, but they're 6 and 9 in quad 1 games? This isn't going to eliminate that, but it helps that argument of where the committee can sit there and go, and I don't necessarily think mid-majors get screwed. I'm never going to sit there and scream it because they have a path to the tournament, right? You win your conference. Like Iona is a good example. Everyone thought they might have had a shot. Then they go out early in the MAAC
right
conference, right? So, would you rather have who was a powered team on the bubble? Wake Forest. Would Wake Forest rather go through the ACC, have to deal with that conference tournament, or would they rather just win the MAC? So there are pros and cons. That's why I'm never gonna freak out because it's all subjective. It's hard to pick 68 teams, or I guess 36 teams after.
Yeah, it's 36 and 32. Yeah.
This helps, and more importantly, well, two things. More importantly, it pisses off Marty, so we're gonna have to talk about more mid majors, which that's a win for this podcast.
Oh yeah.
And second, it helps get more eyeballs on the sport. This is the time. This right after Valentine's Day, after the Super Bowl. That's when people are watching. If we have a little selection Sunday, like Norlander said, of hey, let's see who Gonzaga gets in February. Isn't this what everyone screams their goddamn ass off about with Gonzaga?
Yeah.
They don't play anybody after the non-conference. Well, what if they had Houston and I don't know who's another? Let's say Cincinnati was really good this year. But they had Houston and Cincinnati.
Or Memphis.
Memphis, yeah. Two brands that everybody knows. If they play them and they win, maybe it hushes people when they get the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And that I think is a win for college basketball. It's again, it's like we talked about, more talking points, more eyeballs on the sport, and it's a good way to bring in everyone after football season.
Right.
Everyone's gonna watch the big names, right? Everyone knows Kentucky, Duke. Everyone knows that. Murray State this past year was one of the most fun teams to watch. I don't know how many people knew Murray State this past year until late February.
Yeah, listen, I think we know, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, there's about a 6 to 7 week window where the sport gets the spotlight. And this is a way to capitalize on that window, right? Because if it is going to hold on after Valentine's Day, after the Super Bowl, you still don't get people really locked in until Selection Sunday. A bracket comes over their desk and you're like, all right, these names seem recognizable. These don't. I like these colors, whatever.
Conference tournament week 2, because it's like, hey, let's go to the bar and watch, 12 hours of basketball.
Fair. But if you want to get people to be bought in the regular season, I know people say the college basketball regular season is irrelevant because it's all a one and done tourney. This adds that element. Like you said, if they had a selection show, maybe I'm just a selection show nerd and love that type of stuff. But to see, this team is playing this team next Saturday, and then they have to hop on a plane and play someone else Wednesday, that's cool. Yeah,
I agree. And it's a way to draw people in because it breaks up the conference play too, right? How many people are going to want to watch Murray State, Tennessee Tech versus Murray State, St. Mary's, or whoever it might be, where it's, hey, this is now a de facto playing game or a de facto seed game, right? That's part of the draw of conference tournaments when you talk about the Power Six, right? How many times is the ACC 8-9 game between Syracuse and NC State for 4 days? We hear this is a playing game. The winner of this is likely in the NCAA tournament. The loser's out. Well, now we get it in February with mid-majors. Sign me up for that. How do we get this locked in right now? Because it makes too much sense not to happen.
Right. And Mark Emmert's on the way out, so maybe it will happen. I don't know.
I don't understand what the drawback is. If you have all these
I really
conference
don't see
commissioners.
negatives. Yeah.
Right. You have all these conference commissioners on it. And what Norlander had in his report is the 23-24 and 24-25 season are a week longer because the Final Four coincides with the Masters, right? It's always Final Four Saturday,
Right.
championship game Monday, Masters starts Thursday. And the way the calendar falls, I guess it's a week later. So right there is a built-in week. You can start conference games whenever. We see the ACC play conference games in
December,
in November, right? Like teams open.
Play November this year.
Teams open. Some teams open.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Play.
That's right. Yeah, Syracuse played.
And I think that's a good thing because it's another way to talk, right? Like what's one game in November versus whatever. So have these mid-majors play a conference game in November in order to have this happen in February because this is good for the sport. This helps the sport. This helps NCAA tournament. This is everything we ask for as college basketball fans. Just do it.
Right. Like I don't see any negatives. I'm sure there's some logistic things that we don't know about, but like NCAA tournament teams find out on Sunday, they hop on a plane the next day. Like if the NCAA has the chartered planes ready, like I don't see why this wouldn't work unless, let's just book 20 rooms at the Spokane Fairfield Inn for a team to show up and play Gonzaga on Wednesday.
And I'm a sucker for an algorithm. I'm so excited for people to lose their shit over the algorithm. Yeah. Right? Like if this happens and it's like, well, how is this matchup happening? We're better than this team. We should be playing Gonzaga. And it's like, well, you're a quad 2 team. They're playing quad 1. Yeah. I'm so excited for the algorithm to piss people off because I love watching people just get mad at stuff.
Right. And again, we don't know how realistic it is in terms of a time range. Like obviously it'd be ideal to have it this upcoming season, but the fact that
I think it'll be 2 years from now. I don't think it'll be next season. I think it'll be the season after because a lot of, you start building out the non-conference schedule.
Right.
Really like now and before now of, okay, we have the return home and home game. We have this tournament, we have whatever. So, and what I think either Norlander said or one of the athletic directors in Norlander's report said is it also helps eliminate those games against non-Division I teams. No one cares about those games. I get why the low majors play the high majors and bye games because they need the money. Like who is it? Texas Southern plays like 16 road games over the year against power
conference teams.
That funds their athletic department. I completely understand that. And there is a need for that in the sport, but you don't need to play like, Queens University or whatever.
Counterpoint, we wouldn't get the storyline of St. John's Fisher's Connor Williams against Buffalo.
That's true. Can we just get him to play Division I instead? Someone's got to take a flyer on the guy.
Yeah. So no, it's definitely exciting stuff. Like there really aren't any reasons to not have this, but again, the timing and logistics, I guess it's a wait and see thing, but something to talk about, something to get excited for. All right. Transfer portal still moving pretty heavily, obviously not as much as April, and we're in the first week of May, and we still have some notable things to report on. Number one actually took place earlier this week, the Big East. So Rico hates Creighton because they denied her interview request in our first season of the podcast.
Such a great grudge.
It looks like we're going to be making some requests to Creighton this upcoming season for some interviews because they landed Baylor Scheierman from South Dakota State. South Dakota State, a sexy upset pick. They lost 2 games in the regular season.
Yeah, something like that.
And he was one of, if not their best player. And now he's going to Creighton, a team that's getting Ryan Nembhard, who was out for the last few weeks.
Yeah, he broke his wrist in February.
Right. They weren't full strength. Kalkbrenner's back. Arthur Kaluma, Trey Alexander is supposed to be their starting 5. I mean, if you took a time capsule back to the first week of April and you said, all right, we saw Thad Matta, we saw Sean Miller, the Big East is going to be the most exciting conference. Now, fast forward back to today, I think we're doubling down on that. At least that's my take. I'll speak for myself.
Yeah, I think it still might be the Big 12.
Fair.
But the Big East is up there, right? Like we can have this debate of what's going to be the most entertaining conference. The Creighton story is fascinating to me, just in general, right? Like they are, if you look at, and I was talking to this about somebody yesterday, it is very tough. Not even like in college basketball, college, whatever. Whenever you're ranking something, it is hard to get away from what like the herd thinks, right? And everyone now has Creighton top 5, top 10 in the country.
Everyone's going to have Arkansas, Duke, and Creighton top 3. That's all I've heard.
And UNC.
Yes, and UNC for getting everyone back.
But if you look, like they finished 50th on KenPom this past year. KenPom is unique in the sense of he doesn't look at the herd and say, well, this is my preseason ranking. It's all an algorithm.
Right.
That's why he had Baylor so high this past year. I think they were 3rd in his preseason rankings, and everyone else had Baylor like.
Yeah, he had Michigan like top 25 the whole year.
Right, and everyone was kind of like, well, he's wrong about Baylor. He ended up being right about Baylor. So it's unique in the sense of, okay, they're 50th. They're coming off the year where they're 50th. They add the best player from the 81st best team in the country. They're going to be like 28 or 30 on KenPom preseason rankings, and everyone's going to freak out. Yeah. So it's like, I do like this Creighton roster. I think they are really good. I think the makeup's there. I think Scheierman fits perfectly with what they need offensively. He doesn't help defensively, but you can kind of put him on the right guy, and it makes sense. I'm curious to see what happens if they don't come out of the gates red hot. Like if they lose their first 2 big games, right? Like,
so are you ready for what they have in the first few weeks?
Is it okay? Yeah.
And the field.
They're in Maui. Yeah,
they're in Maui. Ready for this field? Arkansas, Arizona, Louisville, Ohio State, Texas Tech, San Diego State, Cincinnati.
They could easily go 1 and 2 there.
Yeah. And then people are going to be like, uh-oh.
Right. Like, oh, this team isn't. Because, again, you're talking about a team that was basically all freshmen last year, right? They were super young. Now, they had some moderate success. They were, a 9 seed?
You're forgetting about AOC.
AOC's good. Yeah, he's got.
Yeah.
He was in college for a long time.
Yeah.
Had some moderate success, won a game in the tournament. Now it's expectations for them. They had no expectations this year. I think they're projected to finish last or next to last in the Big East. So I am curious to see this makeup. I understand why people have them top 5. I probably have them somewhere around 8 or 9 if I'm just doing what I think is going to play out in the season. If somebody ranks them like 17 in the preseason polls, I also understand, because there is some unknown, right? Like, that said, I do think they're the favorite to win the Big East until we know, like, how does Kyle Neptune do at Nova? We're still seeing roster movement at Xavier, another popular team.
Yeah.
What about St. John's? So and Thad Matta, like, you can't rule out Thad Matta.
Right.
So I like what they're doing. Scheierman makes a ton of sense. What I did find interesting, how come no one's freaking out about transfer portal and NIL here?
Yeah, because he basically say, like, the NIL
he was looking
for the reason.
It's way out there. Like, he was looking for a big NIL deal and wanting to still be like a focal point of the offense. So he's getting that at Creighton. Everyone agrees it's a good thing, right? Like, Creighton is this good story. I don't know if anyone outside of Rico and like Nebraska fans truly hate Creighton, right? Like, they're just one of those programs that's like, oh, they're fun to watch. They've had, like, obviously, like, Corver and good history there. Why is no one screaming about this? If he went to Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, people have been losing their shit about how NIL ruining the sport. I didn't hear any of this when a mid-major transferred up to a Big East school.
No, absolutely. By the way, obviously he played in the Summit League, Baylor Scheierman, and the Summit League is the Summit League. They had a Sweet 16 team last year in Oral Roberts, so at Dakota State was good. He still had a double-double against Providence in the tournament, double-double against Bama. He had 18 rebounds against Alabama, the second game of the season.
Well, Alabama couldn't rebound for shit this year. So,
but still, like, he has the small sample size of playing against power conference teams. Like, he can hang.
He's had success in terms of scoring and rebounding against power teams. The defense is a question for sure, but he's a guy that can play 1 through 3, which Creighton thrives on, right? Like, that's the Creighton offense. This guy's made to play for Creighton. And I know people are going to say, well, he grew up outside of, 2 hours from Creighton. That's why he went back there. It's like, yeah, that played a role in it, but let's not lie. Like, this was an NIL focal point on offense on a good team type deal too.
Yeah. I also like how he rocks the white headband and the undershirt. I feel like we don't see both much.
I'm trying to think, like, who was the last person to really do that?
To do both? I don't know.
It's been a long time itself.
And his t-shirt's kind of baggy, like Adam Morrison. Like, I feel like Adam Morrison's sleeves were always just like
Did Ethan Raggy ever wear a headband? Because I could see him doing like the headband and baggy white undershirt.
I'm not positive, but I don't know. I think it's a unique look to have both. Usually you have one or the other.
It is. And like, listen, like good, like this is good for college basketball, right? Like everyone keeps screaming about NIL and transfer portal. Well, guess what? Like Creighton now has a chance to be a Final Four favorite because of what they brought in recruiting and what they're getting in the transfer portal. Like it's the blend of both worlds of how college basketball teams need to succeed. It's how UNC, and like look at the title game this year. UNC was in the title game, yes, because of Armando Bacot, yes, because Caleb Love played out of his mind, but also because Brady Manek was there as their 4 and could space everyone out and was a damn good shooter. He was a transfer portal guy.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Kansas. Who hit the biggest shot for Kansas in the title game? Remy Martin, transfer portal guy, built around obviously Christian Brown, Ochai Agbaji, McCormick. So you need to be able to recruit and you need to be able to land guys in the transfer portal. It's just the world we're in these days.
Like you said earlier, free agency is the best part of NBA. Maybe people love it in the NFL too. Like we're getting it. It's free agency.
You need to find a missing. And I'm never going to blame a kid for leaving. Like Scheierman's, he still might get drafted, right? Like it's not a guarantee that he's back to Creighton. He's staying in the draft, right? But maybe he tests super well and gets like a first round grade. If not, let's say he's a second round pick, he goes to Creighton, plays well, earns like all Big East honors. What if and he goes 21st next year?
And he gets a couple mil?
Right. Like we should be praising,
but a lot of money.
Let's say he gets $400,000 through everything, right? But then he gets a couple
with
mil
a chance to up his stock for a whole year.
Then he gets a couple mil on the back end with the NBA draft, right? He gets guaranteed money being the 21st pick. Isn't this what we want for college basketball? Guys to come back, improve. Maybe they go to a different school. Like college is all about doing whatever you can to better your career. You went to Syracuse for broadcast journalism because that was the best spot for you to grow your career.
Right.
Why are we blaming athletes for doing the same? Their career is basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Baylor Scheierman, 2 more things. He shares my birthday, so big fan. And in his bio, #headband wonders. So like he embraces the headband.
Oh, that's smart. You need a guy like that. You need a guy that he probably has a little crazy in him. That makes me like Creighton.
Oh, and the location in the gym.
Oh, that's so perfect.
He's a hooper.
He is first guy in, last guy out.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just living up to every stereotype, and I love it so much.
That's amazing. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch him in the Big East next season. A couple other big names that went through the portal and committed. We had Preston Spradlin on last season when Morehead State won. He had his best player, Johni Broome, enter the portal, and he's going to Auburn. Bruce Pearl obviously loses Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler. They're getting Johni Broome, not Johni. We were told during the interview, not Johni, Johni, Johni. And another big time prospect, Yohan Traore. So Bruce Pearl doing a good job reloading. Yeah,
crazy how a FBI sanctioned investigation looming over a program just means jack shit because it's looming over Auburn. And guess what? They're landing one of the most coveted transfers in Broome, who fits Auburn's system pretty perfectly. Good recruiting class. And we also mentioned, Louisville might land Imani Bates. They're landing a bunch of transfers with Kenny Payne. So I saw they picked up a crystal ball for Bates yesterday. So say what you want about Bates. He was a can't miss prospect coming out of high school. So I do find it interesting that these schools, Kansas, Creighton was involved in it too. Kansas, Creighton, Auburn, Louisville are having no problem landing guys, which, I mean, I don't blame them necessarily, but if I told you that 5 years ago, right, any school with sanctions, you wondered, like UNC went through with their academic fraud scandal. Like, they took a little hit in recruiting. I find it fascinating that it's just nothing. There are no step backs for these programs. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. The NIL thing just changes everything. Yeah, it must. But good for Auburn. I mean, I like when SEC basketball is better. I do say it. Obviously, part of me misses the days where it was Kentucky versus everyone else or Kentucky and Florida versus everyone else. It is now entertaining that it's Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida. Like there are enough schools there where you don't sit there for a week where you're like, I gotta watch Kentucky against South Carolina and then Kentucky against like an 8-win Auburn team.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, he was between Auburn and Florida. So
yeah,
he was going SDC regardless. A few other guys, we don't need to go too deep on them, but just notable. LSU transfer Efton Reed going to Gonzaga. We mentioned how Gonzaga really didn't have any big time recruits coming in. So the portal had to make sense somewhere.
Yeah, there's one.
Reed, he was a 5-star, right? From LSU.
Yeah, he was really good. He just kept getting in foul trouble. I mean, he started as a freshman. So, I like to pick up. We've seen a ton of big guy success at Gonzaga, so it makes sense.
Yeah. And then lastly, Cade Cunningham's sidekick at Oklahoma State, Isaac Likely, today is off to Ohio State.
Is that official, Ohio State?
Yeah.
I really like him. They lose Malachi Brandon, who I loved. He's going to be like a top 16 pick. So I don't blame him for staying in the draft. That's a hell of a way to get another like wing guard guy. Likely's he's an interesting player because he looks like a football guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. It's exciting. Like you have these guys who, I guess for Scheierman and Johni Broome, like they were on really good mid-major teams. Feels good to talk about mid-majors and not hear a thick Long Island accent. Just yeah. But no, like those are two guys who obviously led their teams to the tournament at one point in their career, and now they're going to get a chance to be in the spotlight for the entire season. And
yeah, listen, it works the other way. It works the other way too. I can't list off the top of my head, but there are mid-majors getting guys from this 7th player on a major school, and they get to go be the guy to mid-major. So it's working both ways the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the transfer portal. This is a few weeks old, but it's worth mentioning on this show. VanderPlas is a stoolie. He's a part of my take AWL. And he had us break the news that he was transferring from Ohio to Virginia. So I thought that was cool. That's big for the brand.
It is. It is, yeah. He beats Virginia in the tournament and now gets to play for him. So yeah, shout out Ben. He's a good guy. I feel bad for Ohio. They lose him and Mark Sears, who I really liked as a guard. So Bowles is my guy. I hope they get some good players out there because Ohio's they've been a good program.
Right. Yeah. Jeff Bowles from Stony Brook and assistant at Ohio State. And did you see the reason? Maybe not the main, but one of why he committed to Virginia.
No, what did he say?
His name is Ben after Bennett, as in Tony Bennett.
That's right. Yeah.
He's named after Tony Bennett.
I forgot about that.
Now he's playing for him.
Bennett VanderPlas. Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, I hope it works out because I want that storyline to become like overly said during every single game. Yeah.
As I would say on part of my take, that would be wild.
Yeah. Where is that on the wild meter?
That's up there. I think it's I think the 4 levels of the wild meter are whoa. I forget the middle one. It's something whoa, wild, and then this is wild. This would probably be between wild and this is wild. If he carries them to like a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 and he's named after the head coach and he beat them 2 years ago. So
it's not up to the Carmelo and Buddy Boeheim picture.
That will never be touched. That's the reason we have it.
So that's the peak. This would be like, would this be like right around someone's like Patrick Baldwin deciding to go to Milwaukee to play for his dad?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Wild. Yeah. It's a good wild meter.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what that fourth thing. Oh, here it is. Whoa, crazy, wild. This is wild. So I think between wild and this is wild.
I think that falls right there. Yeah.
A guy who's named after the coach, plays for the coach, plays well for the coach on the team he eliminated in the tournament 2 years ago. Wild. Yeah. So that was cool. Shout out Ben VanderPlas, Stoolie. We got to have him on. 2 more things here. The A10 is considering adding another member. I think everyone is assuming it's going to be Iona. If it even happens, it would make sense. But then again, if Rick Pitino gets a better job, there's really not much appeal for Iona, right?
Right. I mean, well, they do have some historical success, right? Like Tim Cluess, like they went to the tournament a handful of times.
And Iona's better than some of the teams that have been in that league for a while.
Like they've been better than Fordham for a long time.
Hey, Fordham won 500, then they lost.
I know, but then they immediately lose that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, right? Like they bring in Loyola Chicago, so maybe they're thinking outside the box here, right? Like they don't necessarily need Iona because they do have Fordham, right? Like everyone looks at, or conferences tend to look at TV markets, just markets in general. Do they stick with Iona or do they try to go, I don't know, is there another program out there like a Loyola that we're just not even thinking about that would leave for the A-10?
I got one. I don't think it's realistic, but they would definitely contend. It's a team I worked for 2 seasons out of college.
Vermont.
They would be right. I think it would be a perfect match for men's basketball. Obviously, the whole athletic department would have to move, I would assume, which makes it tougher. But they are
for
better.
Basketball, they'd
we
be
went on a road
interesting.
trip. My first season, we swept 3 A-10 teams. Like we won at St. Bonaventure, at George Mason, at GW. None of them were particularly close. I think one of them was, but like they could hang with them.
And really, what the longest trips would be Davidson and Loyola Chicago now?
St. Louis.
Or yeah, I always forget St. Louis out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Louis that's a hike, but you're close enough to the majority of the schools, right?
Right.
Mostly Pennsylvania, like the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast schools. I don't hate that. I'd be curious to see how Vermont does. It would also entice Becker to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's something. Also, the A-10 open to adding a 16th member. Why does the A-10 have like the most schools out of any conference?
I think they're smart in trying to get ahead of it, right? Because everyone keeps saying that the conference layout's going to be 16 teams. I think they're smart to try to solidify their 16 and say, okay, well, who are we realistically going to lose to one of the power conferences? Probably nobody. So here's our 16. We're now better set off than the American. We're now that 7th conference.
Right. Also a very underrated conference tournament too.
It's a super fun conference tournament.
Yeah.
That needs to go back to like, I miss when it was down in Atlantic City. I feel like that needs to be back in Atlantic City.
Yeah. The MAC.
Yeah.
Double AC.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap it up here. It's a little old, but you got some defending of Kentucky to do. They lost an assistant to Duke. Now you're very lucky Marty's not here.
I'm so glad
he would
Marty's not here.
just shoving it down your throat, even though he probably has never heard of the guy before. But no, you lose your assistant from Kentucky to Duke. Calipari's statement, obviously you can't really take much from it because it's written down, but it seemed like he's like, yeah, he's doing what's best for him. But like, what could be the reason for this from going? I feel like we've never seen this before. Someone go straight from Kentucky to Duke.
No, it's the first non-Duke player to be on the staff in like
20 Is it Jai or
years.
High?
Jai
Lucas. Okay.
Jai Lucas. So luckily I've experienced him losing Jai Lucas before. He was supposed to be a package deal with Patrick Patterson at a high school to Kentucky. He ends up going to Florida, then to Texas. So me and Jai have got a real complicated relationship here now because he put me in a tough spot with this decision. The rumor was out there that Duke wanted him. He was staying with Kentucky. He went out recruiting for Kentucky. Now he's obviously with Duke. Calipari did do a radio interview, talked about it, was the same thing. He's going, listen, he's just looking out what's best for him. Some of the rumors out there is that obviously he has a chance to work with Scheyer, who is younger, and Lucas will have more ability to kind of have input on roster, coaching. Like it's more of a team effort where Calipari is like the GM of Kentucky, and it's like, no, you do this is my vision, you do this. Which this isn't the first time we've heard similar rumors, like when Joel Justice like this has been out there for quite some time, and it's a double-edged sword, right? Like it clearly has been working. Like, I think you're an idiot if you say Calipari has not been successful at Kentucky. At the same time, it's a changing of the times where, hey, we got to figure out modern offense, get back to the Final Four, probably win one more title, and everyone kind of be like, all right, like the Cal era was good. This is not good. Like I really like Lucas. He's arguably the best like young assistant in the country.
And you guys are obviously competing for the same like top recruits.
That's the problem. So he was the lead recruiter for Damian Collins, Cason Wallace, and I think Chris Livingston. So a lot of, sophomore, incoming freshmen, ties to Texas. Kentucky likes to pull from Texas a lot. Harrison twins, Randall, all came from Texas. So there's history going out there and getting guys. Lucas had that. Now it's all fucking Duke. Like that to me was the biggest loss in the offseason. Not Shaedon Sharpe, not anything else, not, Keon Brooks hitting the transfer portal. It's losing Jai Lucas because Calipari needs to find the next Kenny Payne, and he has not been able to find it. So I thought Lucas had a chance to kind of be that guy, and now he's helping.
He's helping Duke.
Just the worst.
Also,
just the worst.
Yeah, it was interesting that they didn't keep it inside the brotherhood, what they call it, especially going to Kentucky. And also, did you see the drone video of Duke going through their so a couple of things here. It's very cool. I think it was the same company that did our year-end one. They started at Hard Knocks, and then I think that's what was like boosted them up. And then for our Black Friday, the Barstool store, they did a tour of the office. I forget their names, but they do a great job with drone videos. They did the same thing in the Duke facilities. And then 10 seconds into the video, they go through the coaches' offices, and who's there?
Krzyzewski.
Coach K.
We know he's not leaving. Like, that's what pisses me off even more about Jai Lucas leaving. Krzyzewski's the puppet master. Scheyer isn't making any decisions. Krzyzewski's just sitting there telling them what to do. This way, if they struggle, it's all on Scheyer and not on Krzyzewski. So I'm not surprised. I would be surprised if Krzyzewski's the one paying NIL money for these people. I'm not surprised about anything. The least shocking thing was him 10 seconds into that video.
It's a great video, but it's just funny that he's just there.
The least shocking thing.
I feel like they said, hey, Coach K, be right here.
No way. That man doesn't know his way home. He's been sitting there looking for work since they lost to UNC and got embarrassed the entire program.
And he has the puppy.
Yeah, what happened? Where is this puppy at?
I don't trust worried about it.
I don't trust Mickey taking care of it. I know none of the grandson for sure isn't taking care of it. He left town right away after his grandpops left.
Oh, he transferred, right?
So no one's watching that puppy. So we got an alleged animal killer who's lost in the office, refusing to leave. He's a squatter. He is a squatter.
I don't know. Yeah.
I hope there's a video in December and he's still sitting in the office.
Yeah, that would be great. But yeah, that's our show. So again, YouTube exclusive. Thank you guys for listening, or I should say watching, because you can only watch. But yeah, give us some feedback, tweet at us, let us know what you think of this. If you guys really like it, we'll keep doing them more frequently throughout the off season. Maybe
and other ideas
every
too.
2 weeks. What's that?
And other ideas too. We have a lot of freedom with YouTube. You saw the we did the Jimmer, behind his March story. We have, any ideas like that, shoot them to us. We are all open ears. Obviously, this offseason's about as different as ever. So we're willing to do, different things. So let us know what you guys want to watch and hear.
Absolutely. Yeah. So everyone, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be focusing on that throughout the off season to try and build it, get some more momentum before November comes around. But yeah, that's our show. This was the pick and roll. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.